we are going to study further topics of this lesson. So without wasting time, let's start with the advantages of auditing. The owners of a business organization are no doubt benefited by audited financial information, but the users of financial information such as investors, tax authorities, suppliers, management, etc. also gain some profit. The advantages that occur at the various parties connected to the business organization can be grouped as follows. As you can see, the groups are further classified as the advantages of auditing may be classified as owners advantages, management or others. So under owners advantages, you can see it is present and prospective, and for other advantages you can see it is beneficial for monitoring agencies, employees and bankers and creditors. Now let us study each and every point in details. So I will just scroll down this PDF, and I will share this PDF in your WhatsApp group also, so that you can easily refer this PDF. So now advantages to the owner. Error and frauds. See, listen carefully. Error and frauds are located and prevented. The owners are assured that accounts are properly maintained and frauds are not committed by their employees. Now the second one is tax authorities generally accept the audited accounts for the determination of income tax, sales tax and wealth tax, etc. Banks and financial institutions uses the audited financial information to decide the credit worthiness of the organization before advancing loans. Hence, owners can easily borrow money on the basis of audited accounts. So, audit increases the reliability of books of accounts, and hence can be connectivity or can be conveniently used in the following situation. Number one, in case of fire, the insurance company may settle the claim on the basis of audited accounts. The owners can determine the right amount of insurance claim on the basis of audited accounts. So students, the second one is if the business has to be sold as a going concern, the purchase consideration can be determined on the basis of audited accounts. Now let's see the further examples. See, if in the case of accounts where the partnership firm can be settled without any dispute on the admission, retirement or death of a partner, besides disputes can be also be settled with the help of audited accounts. And the next one is auditing can help the owners in deciding about the efficiency and the honesty of the employees, and accordingly it can assist in taking the right decision concerning the dishonest and inefficient employees. Okay, so the advantages to the management are, in case of joint stock companies and certain other organizations, the day-to-day management of the business is handed over to the professional manager. Auditing extends the following advantages to the management. Now let us see that advantages in the next page. So I'll just scroll down the PDF. Over here, management takes a large number of decisions and uses the accounting information or reports prepared out by the financial accounting data. The effectiveness of the decision depends on the accuracy of the information obtained by them. Audited accounts are more reliable. The management can get technical advice on the internal control system, internal check system and safeguarding of assets, etc. So to the management, audited financial statements are used by the management in setting down disputes with the workers. So students, the last one is audited statements are essential to fulfill certain illegal obligations. For example, listing company shares in the stock exchange, for raising capital from the primary market, etc. So now let us see the advantages of auditing to the others. Now I will scroll the PDF so that you can easily go through the PDF and the points which I am going to explain. See, the advantages to the to others are monitoring agencies like SEBI, stock exchange, etc. can be audited financial information to monitor the capital market activities capital market activities of the company. Employees of the organization and trade unions can be audited financial information to negotiate hike of or wages can be demanded, bonus, or bankers can assess the financial position of operating results of the company and decide about the amount of overdraft facility to be allowed to the company, and if loan is applied for the amount can be sanctioned. So for suppliers of a raw material can analyze the payment cycle, the operating cycle of the company, and can decide about the terms of credit. So students, over here we have finished with the advantages of auditing. Now let's see the part of limitations of auditing. There are few limitations of auditing in which it is not possible to examine each and every transaction of business in organization in auditing, because there are millions of transactions. An auditor uses test check and conducts a detailed examination of selected books and transactions. It is hence that possible that mistakes can be happened or misrepresents exist in the financial statement even after the books have been audited. So thus auditing does not make the financial information from errors and frauds. So students, now let us see the further points over here. In the second point, it is clearly explained that the evidence obtained by an auditor may not be conclusive. The auditor may not have the technical knowledge to value the certain assets like building, etc. In such cases, he relies on the valuation certificates issued by the architects, engineers, etc. And since the valuation is not done by him or her, an auditor can only draw reasonable conclusion from such evidence. And the next one is the auditor lends his judgment about certain matter in the financial information. For example, amount of bad debts and depreciation, provision, valuation of intangible assets, investments, etc. So these conclusions are not based on any scientific process. And the last one, the limitation is for certain transactions like purchase and sale of goods, the auditor may rely on the internal control system and internal check system of the organization. If internal control system are effectively and auditor may not undertake the detailed examination, then despite these inherent limitations, auditing has become very popular due to advantages associated with it. So students, these are few points related to advantages and disadvantages of auditing. So to understand this concept more clearly and more efficiently, I am just sharing a video clip with you. So just watch carefully, just listen carefully. The video is only for reference purpose. So you just go through the video and clear your whole concept regarding advantages and disadvantages of the auditing. After that, we will continue with the distinction between auditing and accounting. So just see the video related to the advantages and limitations of auditing.
एडवांटेजेस एंड लिमिटेशंस ऑफ ऑडिटिंग क्या है? तो एडवांटेजेस ऑफ ऑडिट, पहला है दोस्तों सेटिस्फैक्शन ऑफ ओनर. दोस्तों ऑडिटिंग करते हैं हम, ऑडिट जो करते हैं उससे ओनर को एक सेटिस्फैक्शन मिलता है कि हमने कुछ तो जो अकाउंटिंग की है और जो पैसा खर्च किया है हमारे बिजनेस में उसका कुछ तो अच्छी तरीके से यूज हुआ है, वो हुआ ही रहता है दोस्तों। अगर कोई अकाउंटिंग के बाद ऑडिट करता है तो उसे समझ आ जाता है कि सेटिस्फेक्शन मिलता है कि ये किस प्रकार के साथ खर्च हुआ था और ये सही है। इसका एक ऑडिटिंग के बाद ओनर को भरोसा आ जाता है। इसे पहला हम एडवांटेजेस कहेंगे दोस्तों। दूसरा है डिटेक्शन एंड प्रिवेंशन ऑफ एरर्स इन फ्रॉड्स। दोस्तों कंपनी में, बड़े बड़े कंपनी में छोटे छोटे फ्रॉड्स अगर हो तो वो अकाउंटिंग में समझ में नहीं आते दोस्तों। इसके लिए डिटेक्ट करना, फ्रॉड को डिटेक्ट करना और एरर, अगर फ्रॉड हो या फिर एरर हो, इसे डिटेक्ट करना और उसको प्रिवेंशन करना, मतलब उसको कंट्रोल करना, ये ऑडिटिंग से समझ में आ जाता है। ये एक बहुत ही बड़ा और अच्छा एडवांटेजेस है अकाउंटिंग का, अकाउंटिंग के ऑडिट का दोस्तों। वेरिफिकेशन ऑफ बुक्स, मतलब जो अकाउंटिंग के बुक्स है उसे वेरीफाई किया जाता है, ये एक एडवांटेजेस है ऑडिट का। मतलब ऑडिट जो होता है वो डेफिनेशन में ही बताया गया कि वेरिफिकेशन ऑफ अकाउंटिंग बुक्स मतलब ही ऑडिटिंग है, तो एक एडवांटेजेस है दोस्तों। तीसरा है दोस्तों मॉरल चेक, मतलब एक अच्छी तरीके से एक डिसिप्लिन में चेक किया जाता है, किसी प्रकार की छूट किसी को नहीं दी जाती। एक क्वालिफाइड पर्सन चेक करता है ऑडिट, मतलब एक अच्छी तरीके से एक मॉरल चेक होता है ऑडिट मतलब अकाउंटिंग का। उसके बाद है दोस्तों लिमिटेशंस। दोस्तों एडवांटेजेस बहुत से, लेकिन कुछ चीज में ज्यादा अच्छी बातें होती है और थोड़ी बहुत बुरी बातें भी होती है। इस तरह की कुछ लिमिटेशंस भी है अकाउंटिंग ऑडिट में दोस्तों। तो हायर कॉस्ट बर्डन, दोस्तों ऑडिटिंग करना मतलब एक क्वालिफाइड पर्सन हायर करना, बाद में उसे सब इंफॉर्मेशन प्रोवाइड करना और अलग अलग खर्चे आ जाते हैं दोस्तों, इसलिए कॉस्ट का बर्डन बहुत ही बढ़ जाता है ओनर पे। ये एक लिमिटेशन है ऑडिट की, लेकिन 2013 के कंपनी एक्ट ने ये कंपलसरी कर दिया, इसलिए कंपनी को ये करना ही पड़ता है ऑडिट। बाद में दोस्तों बेस्ड ऑन टेस्ट चेक्स, फिर से एक बार चेक करना पड़ता है। पहले अकाउंटिंग हो जाती है और बाद में ऑडिट, मतलब उसे और एक बार चेक करना पड़ता है, मतलब एक थोड़ा लेंदी वर्क हो जाता है दोस्तों। अगर ओनर के पास मनी की थोड़ी बहुत कमी हो या फिर बिजनेस लॉस में सफर कर रहा हो तो। उसके बाद है दोस्तों तीसरा इनसफिशिएंट टाइम। दोस्तों टाइम इज मनी, आपने सुना ही होगा। इसी तरह की कंपनी में भी टाइम एक एक पल बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण होता है और उसमें अगर हम ऑडिटिंग को करने बैठे तो अकाउंटिंग की ऑल प्रोसेस को हम फिर से एक बार चेक करते हैं, मतलब इसमें बहुत सारा टाइम निकल जाता है और ये एक लेंदी प्रोसेस बन जाता है। इसलिए इनसफिशिएंट टाइम एक लिमिटेशन है ऑडिटिंग की। तो दोस्तों आपने समझ लिया अकाउंटिंग ऑडिटिंग क्या होती है, अकाउंट की ऑडिटिंग क्या होती है, आप इसके लिमिटेशंस एंड एडवांटेजेस इस वीडियो में आपने समझ लिए होंगे। और दोस्तों मिलते हैं अगले वीडियो में, तब तक के लिए बाय।
Now students, let us see the distinction between accounting and auditing. Actually, accounting is the process of recording, classifying and summarizing the transactions that affect an entity and interpreting the result. Accounting gives the rise in the percentage of income statement and other position statements. Income statement, that is profit and loss account, determines the operating result and balance sheet reveals the financial position of a business enterprises. And whereas auditing is to verify the financial information prepared by those who are not owners of the company and inform the owner about the truthfulness and fairness of the accounting information. So let us see the distinction between the accounting and auditing. So number one, the meaning and objective of accounting and auditing. First of all, I'll read the meaning of accounting, which is given on the screen. Students, it is recording. Accounting is recording and classifying and summarizing of the business transactions to determine the operating result of the organization for a period and financial position. Whereas auditing is detailed examination of financial information provided by accounting, so as to enable the auditor to express his opinion about the truthfulness and fairness of the financial statements. So the number two, that is your standardization. There are standard accounting principles that are to be followed while accounting. So double entry system of a book and bookkeeping, gap, etc., GAAP, gap, etc. Whereas in the auditing there is no single method. So see students, in auditing there is no single method for examination of accounting information. It may differ from the organization to the organization depending upon a number of transactions, nature of business, nature of operating cycle, extent of internal control and internal check system, etc. So, and number 3, the qualification. So for accounting, an accountant need not necessary to be a chartered accountant, but in while auditing, an auditor should be a chartered accountant. So this is the major difference between the accounting and auditing. You should have to memorize that in the qualification. For accounting, the accountant does not need to be an accountant. See, after Bcom you can opt for a job as an accountant in any firm. But if you are doing CA side by side, chartered accountant, then you can be an auditor. If you have completed your CA, then you can be an auditor. So an auditor should be a chartered accountant. And nature of work, an accountant prepares the final statement. An auditor works whereas an auditor's works add credibility to it. So the relationship with the management and the shareholders. An accountant is an employee of the organization. See, an accountant is an employee of the organization, whereas an auditor is appointed by the owners, shareholders, to safeguard the interest, to safeguard their interest. He is not an employee of the organization. So from this point it is clear that an auditor is financial. An auditor is not familiar with the organization, but an accountant is familiar with the organization. He is an employee of that organization. So to understand this concept, student, I am just sharing a short video. So from this video you will get a clear picture that what are the difference between auditing and auditing and accounting. So just see the video and listen it carefully. So after that we will complete our next point. video which I have shared on the screen. Accounting and auditing is clear cut concept. So now let us study the types of auditing. I will just scroll down the PDF over here. Now we are going to see types of audit or classes of audit. So students, audit is a broad term. It is not restricted to the financial audit, and it is reflected in the following definition of the audit, that is, it is a systematic process of independent examination or review of a condition or a situation by an expert to ascertain the degree of correspondence between the assertion and the set criteria and communicating expert opinion to the interest parties. Thus, audit is an independent examination of any situation, condition or any activity. What is important is an expert who is independent makes analysis of the situation and gives his opinion as to whether the situation matches with the standards or not. So audit is classified in various types, which is already given on the screen. I will just scroll down the screen over here. The types of audit are the audit is basically further divided in the ownership, periodicity, objectives, scope of audit, employee or employer of the audit, and manner of checking. In under the ownership, you can see that private audit, government audit, and statutory audit. Periodicity, continuous audit, annual audit, interim audit, occasional audit, and concurrent audit. Objectives. And under the objective, financial audit, operational audit, cash audit, management audit, tax audit, social audit, environment audit, propriety audit, performance audit, and secretarial audit. And under the scope of audit, complete audit or partial audit, and employers of audit, internal audit or external audit, and manner of checking, standard audit, balance sheet audit, post and vouch audit. So students, these are the various types of audit. So to understand this concept, you should have to go through these points, each and every points very carefully. I am sharing the PDF with you. So now let us proceed with our next point. Now students, let us see our next point, that is audit process. The audit process is well-defined methodology for organizing an audit and is adopted to accomplish audit objectives. Every successful audit is based on sound planning and is an atmosphere of constructive involvement and communication between the client and the auditor. Every audit assignment is unique, but there is a standardized step which are undertaken to conduct an audit. An audit process may consist of the following three stages, that is planning, conduct of audit and audit report. And further, the planning is classified as scope of audit, knowledge about client, audit program, manpower planning. And the conduct of audit is classified as audit evidence, examination, audit control, and conduct of audit is further classified as audit evidence, examination, audit control, coordinating, and documentation. And audit control is classified as audit assistance and work performed by others. And audit report is further classified as determine the influence and determine the truthfulness and fairness, and communication through audit report. So let's start with our point, that is audit planning. So students, I will just go quite faster in this topic. So to detail analysis, to understand this concept in detail, you should have to go through the PDF, carefully read and write and make a note of each and every point which if you think that the point is important to you. So now let us see the audit planning under scope of audit. So in any audit assignment, in any audit assignment, an auditor must be clear about what he is required to perform. So what he is required to perform means what he needs, what he want to perform an audit. He must understand the scope of audit, any ambiguity with regards to coverage of audit may result in unnecessary work and neglect of essential audit work. An auditor may be required by the client in different capacities, as an accountant, as an expert consultant, or as a person giving his expert opinion on the situation under review. In the audit work, the auditor may be expected to cover what is generally expected of in such an engagement, or he may be expected to cover certain special matters in addition to it. Any misunderstanding of the position by the auditor may lead to unnecessary litigations. An auditor determines the scope of his audit, that is audit expectation, or that is the term specified in the letter of appointment by the client, the enactments governing the audit, the general expectations in such engagements, and to clarify this, let us see an example. The Companies Act 1956 clearly mentions the scope of audit, work of financial auditor of a joint stock company. In the case of non-statutory audit, the engagement letter is the only basis of the scope of audit work. Engagement letter, there is no standard form of an audit engagement letter. The engagement letter may be same for respective audits. If there are any changes in the audit, a manner of the conducting audit, or limitations attached to the auditor's responsibilities, a new letter may be issued. An audit engagement letter contains the following matters, that is auditor's role, an accountant, consultant, or an auditor. Audit aims, matters to be audited, opinion to the expressed certification to be done, and areas on which expert advice is to be expressed. Auditations in view of special enactments, pronouncements of special professional bodies, and specific requests of the clients. Duties of client during audit, and the inherent limitations of audit, duration of audit, auditor's remuneration, reimbursement of out of pocket expenses, and now let us see the knowledge of client's business. Students, in order to discharge the audit duty efficiently, the auditor needs to know his client. The following information about the client of the business helps in the audit work. Number one, that is nature of business. He should know the nature of business. And number two, that is accounting system. And number three, internal control system operating in the business. The auditor should know the organization structure, line of business, technical details as to process employed, market trend in the industry, the impact of various government policies, regulations of the industry and business of the client, etc. This detail will help the auditor to know the business environment in which it is functioning, the understanding in auditor to know the business environment which will make him feel comfortable and will help him to conduct the audit with utmost quality. And an entity can choose any accounting policy. The auditor must therefore gain knowledge of the accounting policies followed by his client of the business. For example, inventory valuation can be in LIFO, FIFO that you have already studied in your SY Bcom in costing subject. So inventory valuation can be on LIFO, FIFO, simple average and weighted average method. The auditor needs to know the method adopted by the entity and if the method is consistently followed or if there is change in any accounting policy. He has to conduct an in-depth audit to understand the impact of the change. The internal control system is an system of controls adopted by management covering both financial and non-financial areas of a company to carry out the business of the company in orderly and efficient manner. The system is designed to ensure that management policies are implemented, assets are safeguarded, and company record, both accounting and non-accounting ones, are completed and accurate. An auditor has to evaluate. An auditor has to evaluate the internal control system to determine if he can rely on the internal control system or not. If the internal control system is adequate, he can restrict the nature, timing, and extent of his checking accordingly. So the next one is audit program. Before setting up an audit program for the conduct of audit, the auditor should consider the following. Number one, identification of significant audit areas. Certain audit areas are important for all the business because of the high degree of fraud risk. For example, remuneration of management if based on profit, stock valuation creation, or reserves depreciation on fixed assets, etc. Further, certain risks are typical to the industry. For example, cash receipts in restaurant. Therefore, an auditor must identify the high risk area so that they can examine thoroughly. Second one is setting up of materiality level. An auditor must link a possibility of fraud to the aim of his audit and determine if the error and fraud in a particular area of the business is material to his audit aim. This will help him in deciding the extent of audit work to be conducted. After determining the scope of audit and knowledge of the business of the client, he needs to draw up a plan of action. A plan of audit work by the auditor is called an audit program. So, students, let us see an example or a definition of that point. It means an audit program is a detailed plan of the auditing work to be performed, specifying the procedure to be followed in the verification of each item in the financial statement and giving the estimated time required. So you can read the few more definitions which are already given in the PDF. I'm just scrolling down to the features of the audit. So now let us study or let us read the points related to the features of audit program. An audit program is prepared by an auditor for his guidance. He may adopt a standard audit program that are based on the typical type of client. That is, whether the client is manufacturing concern, a trading concern, an education institute, etc. So he should know that from which background the client is. So if he studies the background of the client, then he should make necessary changes in it to incorporate special points applicable to the client. If not, the auditor may tailor the audit program for his client, keeping in view the accounting and internal control system. The aim of the audit, the scope of audit, and the special conditions affecting the client's business of entity, specific requirements of the client, etc. So it contains the various jobs to be undertaken by the auditor to conduct an audit. It states the procedure to be followed for preparing these jobs. It is also states the time frame for each audit work along with the date of starting the work and or date on which the work is to be accomplished. The audit clerk performing the risk has to assign the completion. It is necessary to ensure accountability, that he is responsible for any mistake if discovered later. So the advantages of auditing program are work is completed. See, ensures that all the work necessary for the audit has been done, and nothing is omitted. Program of work. This is the second advantage of audit program. An auditor can look into the audit program to assess the progress of work. Thus, he can ascertain what part of the work is done and what remains to be done. And the third one is distribution of work. An audit program lists the various audit work to be done. Some jobs are routine, while some are more complex. Since an auditor is aware of the experience and competence of his audit assistants, he can assign routine jobs to the junior clerk or articled clerk, and complex ones to more competent staff members. See, besides, every member of the audit staff knows the task he or she has to perform. In case a clerk goes on leave, for any reason, he may be he was sick, or he is going outside the city. So, in case the clerk is on leave, it is easy to know that what part of his task is still to be done, and suitable clerk or assistant can be assigned to that job. So the newcomer can also follow and know the clearly the task to be performed by them. So the next one is fixing of responsibility. In case of any fraud or error, he has to be remained undeleted, and the responsibility of the negligence can be fixed on the clerk who had performed the work. Thus, the work done may be traced back to the individual staff members. And the next one is charge of negligence. So, in case the charge of negligence against the auditor, the audit program can be presented as evidence in defending the lawsuit. A properly drawn by the duly signed an audit program can prove that the auditor did exercise responsible skill and care while conducting the audit. And uniformly of work can be attained as the same program with needed amendments can be followed in the subsequent audit. So the audit program provides basis for subsequent revision when changes takes place in the internal control or accounting system of the organization. And the last one is final review. It facilitates the final review before the audit report is signed. Now let us see the disadvantages of audit program. So number one is mechanical. There is a danger that audit program may be followed, that is mechanically year after year through some changes in the routine or internal check might have been introduced by the client. Besides, since audit procedure are listed in details, the audit work becomes mechanical. The audit staff and clerk may do a task mechanically without understanding their significance to the audit process. Second one is loss of initiative. An efficient clerk may lose his initiative because he can adhere to the program which have been fixed for him. He may go beyond the assigned work and may make suggestions to improve the efficiency of the audit. And third one is rigidity. See, the audit assistants may rigidly follow what is stated in the audit program and may not change the procedure, etc. Although there is a change in system. Further, the audit clerk may regard the work entrusted to him to be to be maximum work to be done and may not go the extra mile when the situation demands. Students, the shield insufficient staff. It means in this point, inefficient audit assistants may take shelter behind the program. That is, defend these deficiencies in their own work on the pretext of absence of a matter in the audit program. Each and every detail cannot be written in the audit program. Certain tasks are implied. And the last one, fifth one is small concern. Small concern do not need a detailed audit program. The time consumed in making the audit program can be better invested in the conduct of audit. So the basis of a broad outline of audit work. These disadvantages can be overcome by making it clear the audit staff that the audit program is only for guidance and that they should use the initiative and intelligence during the audit. The staff should be encouraged to bring to the notice of the auditor any change in the system of the organization and to suggest modification in the procedures, audit task, etc. Besides, audit program should be redrafted at every audit assignment according to past experience and changes in the business. Next one is D point, that is manpower planning. So while setting out the audit program, the auditor identifies the task to be done to perform the audit work. Manpower planning is done on the basis of the amount and complexity of the task to be done. An auditor determines the number of audit assistants he needs to perform the audit task, and also their categories like senior clerks, junior clerks, managers, etc. He does the stock taking of the actual manpower assigned to him, and accordingly finds out how many more assistants he would need to do the job. Further, he may decide to take more articled clerks, students studying CA who are experienced, or may go for permanent staff depending upon the nature of need. So once he has required manpower, he will assess their qualifications, skills, etc. and allot audit work to each of the staff members accordingly. He may have senior clerks to supervise the work of the junior clerks. He may allot routine tasks to newcomers and articled clerks, and complex jobs to the senior. Thus, the efficient allocation of audit task and detailed audit program will minimize the need of supervision. So in the next lecture, we will continue the further topics. So for today, we'll stop over here. Thank you.